Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that everything in your life suddenly unfolded exactly the way you always dreamed. No setbacks, no losses, no mistakes, only smooth victories and perfect outcomes. It sounds amazing, right? But here's a thought that might surprise you. What if a life without setbacks wasn't better at all? What if it was emptier, duller, stripped of the very moments that give life its meaning? Most of us instinctively slap labels on our experiences. We say winning is good, failing is bad. We say heartbreak is tragedy, success is triumph. But here's the hidden truth. Events themselves aren't good or bad. They just are. They're blank pages. It's the stories we write on those pages that give them color. Let me show you what I mean through a journey I'll never forget. I was deep into playing Breath of the Wild, adrenaline pumping, when suddenly chaos erupted. Enemies surrounded me from every direction. Arrows whistled past my ears, swords clashed, fire lit up the sky. My loyal horse Tide stood beside me, my partner in countless battles, the friend I trusted most. I leapt from his back, blade in hand, and fought with everything I had. Step by step, strike by strike, I pushed through until finally, with one last blow, I dropped the final enemy. Silence. Victory. But as the dust settled, I turned to where Tide should have been, and he was gone. I whistled, scanned the horizon, called out again and again. Minutes passed, then 10, and still nothing. The only reply was the haunting sound of the wind. That's when the truth hit me like ice. Tide had died. My heart sank. He wasn't just a horse on a screen. He was my horse, my companion. And in that moment, it felt like I had lost more than pixels. I had lost a friend. Misery set in deep. But then, like a spark in the dark, I remembered a rumor I had once overheard in a tavern, a whisper of a hidden deity far Taha, in the southwest of Hyrule. They said it had the power to bring back lost horses. It sounded like a fairy tale, but I had nothing else. Fueled by hope, I began my journey. Across deserts, through plains, past dangers that pushed me to my limits, I searched. And along the way, I met Blaze, a fiery new horse who carried me fearlessly across the open fields. Together we forged our own bond, racing through danger after danger, until at last I found the hidden deity. My heart pounded as I begged for Tide's life back, and miraculously, Tide returned to me. Relief washed over me like a flood. My horse, my companion, was alive again. Sorry, Blaze, but Tide was back. And yet, something strange lingered in my mind. Had Tide never died, I would have never gone on that journey. I would have never met Blaze. I would have never tested myself in ways I hadn't before. What felt like a disaster had secretly been the doorway to something greater. And isn't that what life is really about? That experience with Tide stayed with me, but not just because it was emotional. It revealed a truth about life itself. We almost never know the real meaning of events when we're inside them. When something happens, whether it's losing a job, failing a test, or watching a relationship fall apart, we're quick to call it bad. And when we win, succeed, or get what we want, we instantly label it good. But life doesn't work in such simple categories. It only reveals its meaning later, in hindsight. And this is ironic, isn't it? We live moving forward, but we only understand our lives by looking backward. This lesson reminded me of an old parable that has echoed through centuries. A story of a farmer whose calm wisdom reshaped the way I see everything. One day his horse ran away. His neighbors rushed over and cried out, "That's terrible! What awful luck!" But the farmer only shrugged and said, "Maybe." The very next day the horse returned, this time bringing with it a group of wild horses. The neighbors were astonished. "That's amazing! What incredible fortune!" But again the farmer only replied, "Maybe." Later, The farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses, but was thrown off and broke his leg. "That's awful. Such misfortune," the neighbors exclaimed. But the farmer, calm as ever, repeated, "Maybe." Soon after, the army arrived to recruit every young man in the village to fight in a brutal war. But because the farmer's son was injured, he was spared. "That's wonderful. You're so lucky," the neighbors cried. And yet once again the farmer simply said, "Maybe." This story is powerful because it reveals something most of us forget. Life is too vast, too unpredictable to label every moment as simply good or bad. What feels like a setback may be the first step toward your greatest growth. What feels like a triumph may quietly open the door to future hardship. Life, unfolds in ways we cannot predict. That's why carrying this mindset feels like lifting a heavy weight from your shoulders. Suddenly, every problem doesn't feel like the end of the world. Instead, it becomes just another part of the story, a page in a much larger book. Think about it. If everything that happened to you was only good, you'd stop appreciating the good. Without loss, gain has no sweetness. Without darkness, light has no power. The contrast between pain and joy is what makes both meaningful. Psychologists call this contrast theory. Our brains are wired to judge experiences not in isolation, but against what came before. That's why a sip of cold water feels heavenly on a scorching day, but meaningless when you're not thirsty. In the same way, joy is only joy because we know sadness. Triumph is only triumph because we've tasted defeat. And when you truly grasp this, you stop fearing life's swings. You stop clinging so desperately to outcomes. And for me, ever since adopting this mindset, I've noticed something profound. The panic that once ruled me has faded. Stress doesn't grip me the way it used to. I can stand in the middle of uncertainty, and instead of drowning in it, I can breathe. Not long ago, I lost something precious, an expensive chain my sister had given me. In the past, losing it would have sent me spiraling. I would have torn the house apart, pacing in circles, unable to rest until I found it. But this time I paused. I asked myself, why does this matter so much? The truth was, the chain mattered not because of the object, but because of the love behind it. That love existed whether or not the chain did. So I told myself, if I never find it, that's okay. If I do find it, that's okay too. I stopped labeling the outcome as good or bad, and simply accepted both possibilities. With that acceptance, the stress melted away. Eventually, I checked the lost and found, and there it was, waiting for me. Relief washed over me, but the real victory wasn't in finding the chain. It was in realizing I had already freed myself from fear and worry. And that's the power of this mindset. When you stop attaching yourself to rigid outcomes, you find peace. You stop suffering in your imagination. Stoic philosophers like Epictetus once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," and modern psychology agrees. Most anxiety comes not from what happens, but from the stories we spin about what might happen. But let me be clear, this mindset isn't a free pass to laziness. Effort still matters. Cause and effect still exist. You can't neglect your responsibilities, fail, and shrug it off as fate. Life still demands your effort. You still need to sharpen your sword, take action, and play your part. But once you've done your best, the rest is out of your hands. Life will do what it does. So the next time something happens that feels like a disaster, I want you to pause, breathe, and remember my horse tide, the farmer's horse, and maybe even your own story of loss and renewal. What feels like the end may only be the beginning. What looks like loss may actually be making space for something greater. Life doesn't demand that you label every single moment. Things simply happen. And when you can accept that, life feels lighter, freer, even more adventurous. So keep moving forward, keep your sword sharp, and trust the story you're living. And before you go, let me ask you, What was a moment in your life that felt like the end, but later turned into a blessing? Share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your journey. And if this message resonated, hit that like button, subscribe, and join me for the next adventure. Because just like in the game, just like in life, the journey is never really over.